This time in Photoshop CS3, we are going to create a mini personal collage. And to do that, the first thing I did is I picked the background and some of the images that I wanted to use in my document. And as you can see, I took this picture of these fall leaves on the tree from this hickory nut tree at my house. And then I'm going to take a bunch of different pictures that you can see cascaded on the screen right here and I'm going to place them onto this background. But one of the biggest problems I have right now is that this is an unrealistic size. I can't print anything here at my house that is 12 inches by 18 inches long, as you can tell by the ruler right up here. And by the way, if you don't have your ruler, you can hold down Control and hit the R button for ruler to toggle back and forth between having that ruler up there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the cropping tool found right over here on the left, and I'm going to crop this down to a reasonable size. And as you can tell, my document is 11 inches wide, so if I hold the spacebar, I can snug that up in the upper left-hand corner and then pull it all the way over to the right here. And so it's guaranteed to be 12 inches wide right now, so I'm going to snip this down to 11 inches. Which is the standard length of a regular piece of paper, and pull this down to 8.5 inches, which is the standard width of a piece of paper. And now that I've got my exact size, I can kind of move this around to figure out where I want this. And I think this looks like a good section right here. I'm finished. I hit enter, and lo and behold, I've got my background for my pictures. What I'm going to do is I'm going to unlock this background over here. Right now, as you can see, it's locked. And I'm going to unlock it. Now there are several ways of unlocking this layer, but we're going to do a little cheater's way, the quickest way to do this, which is to simply double click on the word background here and just rename it. Leaves, and say OK, and boom, that little lock symbol disappears. From here, now I can actually make alterations to it. I can easily change the opacity, which is found right above the layer right here, so that it looks like that, which isn't all that great, but we'll take a look at this later on and it's going to start to look better. I'm going to pump the opacity back up to 100% and leave this as is for now, but at least it's unlocked. My next step is to take some of these other pictures that I have and throw them onto this leaf canvas. After all, collage does come from the Latin vulgar form of to glue. So basically I'm going to slap these on, I'm going to glue them onto this background eventually here. So let's go to some of these pictures that I have where my son's like about 1.5 years old here, maybe 8 or 9 months is all. Kind of bad at telling these sort of things. But I'm going to take him and I'm going to throw him onto this canvas, but before I do that, I better make sure he's not gigantic, which I'm pretty sure he is. So I'm going to use the ruler. Sure enough, he's 30 inches wide and 40 some odd inches tall. He's way too huge. I throw him over here, all you're going to see is a nose and a big eyeball. So I'm going to need to go in here and change his size by going in through the image menu up here at the top. Up at the top, underneath the image menu, you see that you can change the mode, adjustments. We've gone through some of this before, but you can change the image size. The shortcut for this is Alt-Control-I. If I click on this, I can tell my document, wait a second, I don't want you to be 32 inches wide. I actually want you to be 5 inches wide. And you'll notice that it automatically changes the height over here because by default, these parameters are constrained. They're linked together. So if I change this, it will change the height accordingly. It sounds fine to me. I can actually make better changes to it later through transformation. So I'm going to click OK. It's going to calculate for a little bit, and there he is. Shrimpy little Jonah. If I double click on this, it actually brings it back to a reasonable size. Remember, double clicking the hand tool actually brings it to the largest size that still can be viewable on the screen. So now I can take that move tool, which we learned once before, grab a hold of this move tool, I click on this little guy here, and I continue holding down that left click and I hold it over the top of my leaves and I let go, and sure enough, there he is. He's my little guy floating in here. And I'm going to assume that I could take all of these. As a matter of fact, I could take this one now to resize it, Control R, and go and resize it and throw it on there. And I could waste your time showing you how I'm going to resize all these, or I could just pause for a second, resize them, and I'll get back to you. Okay, we're back here. I've made changes to all but one of these images, and the reason why I didn't change this image here isn't because of the stunning reading skills by the gentleman in the picture, but rather because I wanted to show you one last thing that you probably should consider before you start tossing pictures onto a different canvas. Let's just take a look at this image right here first, my leaves image, my background image. If I go back up here and I go image, image size, you'll notice I have the width and the height set up kind of like I cropped it out, but the resolution is 300. It's this resolution size that is actually quite important in this case. I'm not going to get into why it's so important or how things change according to pixel sizes, so on and so forth, but just know that a document with 11 inches of width and 8.5 of height at 300 resolution is actually a much larger document than a document with the same exact width and height settings but a resolution of like 72 or 150. In other words, your document actually gets larger as your resolution gets larger. Very important to understand. So knowing that, let's take a look at this image that I haven't done anything with yet, which is image size. Well, this thing's huge. It's 42 inches wide. It's 32 inches high. It's enormous, except for the resolution is quite low. So when I go to change this to 4 inches, I need to alternately change this resolution to match my background image, which is 300. Now I've created a document that's more